there, just a quick makeup chronicle as I get myself ready to go meet my lovely cousin for lunch. My cousins are here visiting the town I live in Mexico, and I'm gonna have lunch with them. But I just wanted to say a couple words about this post that I put up, and I'm gonna put it on the screen. And the interesting commentary that I have gotten about it. So, the responses that I've gotten from people are not particularly surprising, but they still made me kind of sad, especially the number of Black women who made some of the same kind of comments. And what it said to me is how conditioned we still are as people to doing what is expected of us by white folks, right? And I know how white people don't like to be called white people, but that's what they are for the purposes of this video and my video. Just like you can say Black people, you can say white people too, but I digress. It's really interesting how conditioned we've become. And so first I'm gonna say, one thing I don't do is deify any human being, celebrities, politicians, rich people. I don't think any of them are better people than I am. Most of them have had more opportunities than I have had, because the majority of people who are rich in America and elsewhere are rich by inheritance. They're not self-made. They're rich because somebody gave them money or left them money, right? Then the ones who are, quote, self-made, unquote, did it by probably screwing a lot of other people over, a la President Musk, and getting lots of government subsidies because they're the right race and gender, right? So I don't put any of those people on a pedestal. I don't think that they're better than me, smarter than me, any of that, because they're not, okay? They've just had better opportunities. Some of them, a very few number of them, may use their wealth to try to make the world better, but most of them use their wealth, as we can see with what's going on with, President Musk and the owner of Meta. They just use their wealth to get more wealth, right? So, if you want to know how Facebook came to be, watch the movie The Social Network and read associated books about it, right? So that gives you an idea of who the founder really is. So nothing that he's doing right now should be surprising if you understand that he and people like him are generally opportunists more than anything else. They're not smarter, they're not faster, they're not better. And the same, I would say, goes for politicians, including, and I know some of y'all gonna come for me in the comments for saying this, your beloved President Barack Obama. Some of y'all love that man more than you love Jesus. And that's a lot of love, okay? But at the end of the day, he's a politician and he's a human being just like us. And he can do right things and he can do wrong things. And I get to disagree with him just like I get to disagree with lots of other people, right? He's not Jesus, okay? He's a human being. He gets up and puts his feet in his pants, 1 foot at a time, just like all the rest of us, right? I think it's very dangerous to put anybody on a pedestal, especially politicians. Because if you understand anything about politics, and I have, my undergraduate degree was in political science, by the way, you understand that nobody gets into that business and gets to keep their hands completely clean. Nobody that is a politician, especially anybody that makes it to the highest office of the United States, has completely clean hands, okay? Do I think he's a horrible person? No, I voted for him twice. I think he's one of the best presidents this country has ever had, but I still don't put him up on a pedestal, okay? Also, do I think he's in bed with Donald Trump and they're all friends at the end of the day? I don't believe that nonsense either. But it was very interesting to me, the extreme comments that came up when I put that post up. And the main point that I was trying to make is that as Black people, we have really been conditioned to believe that we have to be tolerable of other people's bad behavior, especially white people. and that, that it's our responsibility to be peacemakers, to grin and cheese, and be friendly in situations that are completely unfriendly to us in our presence. And I think it's a mistake, and it doesn't serve us to continue to do that. And that's the point that I was making. Was I saying that Barack Obama should have went into fisticuffs with Donald Trump at President Carter's funeral? Absolutely not. But do I think he needed to be grinning and cheesing with him? Absolutely not. You can be cordial with people. You can be polite with people without devolving into shucking and jiving. Okay? And I think it's really important for us to learn and know the difference and exercise the difference. One of the things I can honestly say that I learned being in corporate America was to demand respect, especially from white people, and to demand it whether they wanted to give it to me or not, right? And so this idea that because you're in corporate America or you're in an office setting, you have to shuck and jive, I don't agree with, because I know it's not true. And the one thing that I've learned is if you don't demand respect, you'll never get any, right? And people may resent you for demanding it, but you will never get it if you don't demand it. And so I do not adhere to the belief that we have, for the sake of appearances, we have to be the most diplomatic person in the space all the time. We have to be the one that gives the most grace all the time. I don't believe that, and I've learned the hard way that it's really not in our best interest to be that person, especially as Black women. The respect you get is going to be based on how much you demand and what you know and bring to the table, period. Okay? And so this idea that you have to make nice when nobody else has to do it is something we really have to discard. And the comments to the post that I made reflect how conditioned we are as women especially, and Black people specifically, to this idea that we have to be the ones that make nice, right? I think that it was perfectly appropriate for him to be cordial, right? But all that keying in the corner, to me, my personal opinion, is not necessary, right? Did he have to go hard like Karen Pence? No. Even though I respect what she did, might be the only thing she did that I think is respectable. Her husband clearly has no self-respect, because this is the man who sent a mob to try to kill him, right? But I think that, Donald Trump shouldn't have been given any kind of friendly haven. I'm down with what George Bush did, okay? Which is to completely ignore him. And you can smile, nod if you have to sit next to somebody, but say nothing else to them. This is a man who questioned whether the president was actually a citizen of the United States of America, President Obama. I understand why he may have had to sit next to him, because, they follow each other in the presidency. And Biden was actually presiding over the funeral, so it makes sense that he would have to sit next to him. And as a former president, it would have been problematic for him to not be there. So I understand why he wasn't there. And I completely respect former First Lady Michelle Obama's not being there for whatever reasons, whether she has had a spa date, had the flu, whatever reason it was. I'm down with her. I wouldn't have been there either, because, she's already gave all she needs to give to America. She don't owe America nothing else. She definitely don't need to be sitting next to that person. So, and I'm sure that they're aware of the seating assignments before they come to these events. So I'm sure President Obama had to gird his loins for who he was going to have to sit next to. I love the fact that he is conspicuously absent from a lot of the video and photographs of the event. I'm of the opinion that President Carter decided after the election result that it was okay for him to go be with his wife and meet the king, rather than having to live through what is to come for the rest of us. He more than gave his contribution to this country, and I hope that he rests well. He's the first president I remember my parents, I remember as a child, because he was president from the time that I knew myself to the time that we moved overseas for a while with my parents. And they always said that he was a good man. People might argue about whether he was a good president, but very few people have ever argued about whether he was a good man and a good human being while he was president after, right? And I don't think anyone will make such an argument about the president-elect, right? So I understand, the idea that you don't want to be up there getting into fisticuffs and disrespecting someone's funeral, but I think that there was a middle ground there, and I just personally feel that sitting and kikiing with him was not something that the former president should have done, and I said what I said about it. But what's most concerning to me, that people can disagree or disagree with me, but what concerned me was the grounds upon which people were choosing to disagree with me, and it was all staked on this idea of respectability, and that that he had a responsibility to be graceful and diplomatic, and that it's adulting. Quote, somebody said that ain't got nothing to do with adulting. Really, adulting means knowing what level of respect you deserve and demanding it at all times in whatever room you go into. Most of us will never reach that level of adulting because we are so conditioned, especially as Black people, to accept disrespect in American society that we think it's the norm. We think it's being an adult rather than a doormat. Not saying that that's what the president was doing, but the comments that some of you have made have indicated that that's what you all believe in your own lives. And I would suggest that you rethink that position. Especially as Black women, we need to demand respect in every room we go into. And the one thing that I taught people that interacted me in corporate world as well as in my life now, you don't have to like me, but you will respect me. I don't need you to like me, but I'm going to require that you respect me. And this idea that we need to be likable is going to be the death of us, especially Black women. It's literally killing us mentally. We need to put that down along with the cape that says we got to save everybody. Okay? We have got to require different treatment and behavior from American society, in our communities and in our workplaces. And I think a lot of it is driven by fear. Some of us wrap our legs around these badass jobs like they're literally going to keep us alive. And we act as if we don't have the options of changing jobs and moving to another job. Or even if you have to, moving to another state, moving to another area to position yourself to be in a situation that is better for you mentally and emotionally. We tie ourselves to situations and people that don't respect us, don't care nothing about us, and then complain about the treatment and the results. But we're choosing these things. And what I really want is for us to choose differently. So I really felt like the comments under that YouTube community post were quite telling about the mindset of many of us, especially Black women, and it really made me sad. So I just wanted to say that, and I know everybody ain't gonna agree, and that's okay. You don't have to agree. Y'all can continue to engage in whatever intellectual gymnastics you need to make excuses for that. But I frankly feel that it was problematic for the former president to be kikiing with the president-elect after all the egregious and problematic things that he has said about him. That's just my position. You can be cordial, but you don't have to do that. So that's my position. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. I understand other people disagree. But if you disagree on the grounds of respectability, then you need to examine why you believe that that's so important. I got to go put on my clothes and get on out of here. But I just wanted to put that out there because I did feel that explanation for why it was cool was kind of problematic to me. He has to be respectable and he has to be friendly and he has to be all of that. And I'm like, why? Why does he have to do that? To someone who has over and over been disrespectful to him. Why? You could say, hi, how you doing? And say nothing else. You could smile when he's sitting down and say nothing else. He knows why. So you don't have to say more than that. But to be sitting there kikiing and grinning and cheesing, that to me was a little problematic. All right? And so I don't need to see the whole video. I don't need anybody giving me background explanations and excuses. That is my takeaway from it. And I think there's a lesson in it, that a lot of us feel the necessity to do that. And what I am saying is it's not really necessary. You can be cordial and respectful without grinning, cheesing, chucking, jiving. And I want us to understand the difference, right? And I understand in that situation, maybe that was his way of being cordial. I think it was a little over the line, but fine. I wasn't there. I'm not him. But I really see that as an object lesson for the rest of us, not specifically just about that. And that's the point I was making by making the post. And most of y'all missed it by coming in there and talking about adulting and respectability and all these things that you have to do. You don't have to do it. That's the point I want to make. You don't have to do it. There is a third way. And if we want to make it through the next 4 years, we're going to have to start looking at third ways to a lot of things. And stop believing the status quo is the only way. Because this is probably going to turn into the second civil rights movement before it's all over. Because they're trying to roll back everything, right? And respectability is not going to save us. So I really hope that this gives us something to think about. Feel free to share your comments constructively. But those are my thoughts, okay? I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.